So we're finally here. Mega Man 11 releases tomorrow, and Capcom, interestingly, sent over a review copy for me to check out on the Nintendo Switch. And I know I'm pretty hard on Capcom, but that's because they actually have my favorite franchise, my favorite IP, and that is Mega Man. So we're going to be taking a look at Mega Man 11 today. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it, and hopefully help you come to a decision if it's a game you want to buy or wait on or just skip completely. So let's check out Mega Man 11. Let's just start with, first of all, the visual style of the game. You're seeing, of course, gameplay throughout this, and I have to say, I actually like the way it looks. I know at first I wasn't 100% sure because they were doing that 2D, 3D thing where I think I would prefer hand-drawn visuals, kind of more like a Dust Elysian Tale as opposed to what we're seeing here, which is like that 3D character on like a 2D, 3D plane. It at least works. On the Switch, they appear to have a lot of aliasing around the characters and some of the environment, but the frame rate's pretty steady throughout, even with explosions and all kinds of stuff happening on screen. I never really noticed anything slowing down to the point where I felt like I was cheated out of a life or something. I think it looks good enough. I think the character models that you fight against with the bosses at least express some emotion through it. And then, of course, the cutscenes with Dr. Wily and Dr. Light are still not really that good, so there you go. Oh, speaking of that, the story in this game is better than most Mega Man games, but not insane. It's not like exceptional, it's not something that makes you think. The entirety of the first cutscene takes roughly about 5 minutes and ends with, well, you can probably guess, Dr. Wily coming in, stealing 8 robots, exactly 8, and then running off, reprogramming them so that we, as Mega Man, have to go and fight them. That's what we know, so I guess we'll stick with that. So yeah, right off the bat, you're thrown into a menu, 8 robot masters around you, and you just technically pick which one you want to go to, and it's classic Mega Man. They didn't try to break the mold when it came to different characters, or even before where we had something like Mega Man 7 where you had 4 to pick from and then 4 more came in after like a mid-stage. None of that takes place here. It's just 8 robot masters, pick where you want to go, and you go. When you do drop in, though, you'll notice something immediately that was described throughout the beginning, and that's that double gear system. And this is where I struggle to figure out this game, because the double gear system is there as an option. In fact, in the press details that Capcom sent over, they themselves describe it as optional, but this seems to be in place to make this game easy. See, they never specifically designed any one puzzle around the need for a double gear system. It just helps you against some of the puzzles that are a little harder to make it flat out easy. It's a walkthrough, essentially. So let me show you what I mean exactly here. The double gear system is broken up into 2 aspects. You have the right gear, or you tap the R shoulder button, and that slows down time for, well, a set amount of time as your bar fills up, and at that point, everything is slow, including you. Now there's an upgrade you can get that makes you fast, which downright breaks the game. And then you can also press, instead of R, you can press L, and that powers up your Mega Buster to do heavy damage. I mean like heavy. Like you can take away 1/4 to 1/3 of the boss's life with that L shot. So again, you can deal heavy amounts of damage, or if there's a lot of projectiles on screen, or maybe you messed up and you got hit somewhere you didn't want to, you can press R, and that'll basically solve your problems or make things very easy to dodge. Again, optional, but it's always there just at a shoulder button press. So it's certainly tempting to use at any time, and I feel like a lot of people will probably just use it constantly. In fact, when I was playing through it, I decided to use it as much as I could, and it made the game a cakewalk. Seriously, like everything was easy. It was not hard to beat this game. In fact, I realized that when I look back at the amount of time that I spent, and even having it paused all the way throughout a 2-hour spawn cast, and other times where I was working on videos, I still only accrued roughly 6.5 hours in this game, and that's having it paused throughout a 2-hour podcast and several times throughout video editing. I feel like this game, if you just play through it, is somewhere around 4 to 5 hours at the most. Now, there is stuff to do after you beat the game, but it's not a ton of stuff, and that has to do with upgrades that you get when you go through it. See, as you're playing through, you unlock upgrades up until even after beating the game, where I still have like 2 locked that I have to figure out how to unlock. These make the game even easier. See, originally when you go through a Mega Man game, you have to find things like an E-Tank. You have to find things like an extra life. In this case, you can go shopping for those things, and you're never poor in this game. You just always have bolts. typical to other Mega Man games, you collect bolts as you go through, and that's your currency. So you go to the shop, you look around, and you say, well, I want 9 extra lives and 9 E-tanks, and I'll take that weapon refill, and you look down and you still have thousands of bolts. Each one of these things costs about 50 to 60. So you're never low on E-tanks, and that's probably the first time I'll ever say that in a Mega Man game. Now, that double gear system is also worked into the boss powers that you get. So, of course, when you defeat a Robot Master, you get their power-up. It's pretty straightforward. It's something we've always known. And some of the power-ups are actually pretty cool. I found myself using some of them in levels, whereas usually I would just use the Mega Buster throughout. I actually would use some of these power-ups because they would help in a lot of different scenarios throughout the levels without getting too specific and ruining some of the puzzles, and certainly with some of the mid-bosses. Figuring out the weakness for the Robot Master was a little more difficult than I thought. They're not as cut and dry as you would normally think, where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll use water on the fire boss, you know, and then I'll take the fire boss and go mess up the leaf boss or the forest boss. It wasn't as simple as that. Some of these are a little odd, but I guess that makes it a little more of a guessing game when it comes to that. However, I would say I defeated 6 of the 8 bosses with just the Mega Buster because I couldn't figure it out, and then I was like, who cares? I'll just blow them away with the Mega Buster and that sweet R button or that L button. Also, the fact that I always had 9 E-tanks on me and 9 lives, there was never any threat, and I guess that's just the way you play it. If I had played it close to 0 E-tanks at all times and like 2 lives, I would have restarted the entire level several times, and I wouldn't have filled up my life as much if I needed it. But the option is always there. And I think that's what Capcom wanted to do with Mega Man bringing it in 2018. They wanted to retain its difficulty as an option. Now, there are difficulties you can choose in the beginning, but throughout, even on the regular mode, you will find times where you are running out of life, and you have the choice of, do I use this E-tank and fill up my entire life, or do I press this R button, slowing down time for what does kind of feel cheap? And that's really the problem. They made the double gear system feel like a crutch or just being cheap in the game rather than integrate the thing completely into being a core aspect of the game, where they designed puzzles around it or even full-on bosses around the double gear system. In fact, when you defeat the game, they make the thing unlimited basically to where you can just play around in the game and do whatever you want. Now, I will like to check out some runs that people do without the double gear system, because if you take the entirety of the double gear system out of the equation, you take out all the E-tanks, this game is actually fairly difficult. It really is, because they do believe that you're going to use that double gear system more than not, so there are some parts of the levels that are a little harder. You have to know about what's happening ahead of time. For example, you played the demo probably, and there was a part in the demo where you're running through, there's a wall coming behind you, and then you have to go through these set courses or obstacle courses as Mega Man, right? The blowout blocks, slide through, and the whole time something's coming up behind you. Well, imagine if you just tapped R, and that's just going to hang out back there the whole time. You probably even did that in the demo. It was a common thing. So it's interesting to see that there really are 2 different difficulties at such extreme levels, even in like the normal difficulty. But everything else about Mega Man 11 was just fun. It's a $30 game, it's half price of the full $60, and the length pretty much tells me why. When I was getting into it and I knew it was the $30 game originally as MSRP, I felt like Capcom looked at Mega Man and they can't quite figure out how to get Mega Man to be like a full-on big production style game. I think that's something more or less for a Mega Man Legends style game. I don't even think Mega Man X could get there. So Mega Man at $30 at a 5 to 6 hour, depending on how hard it is for you to play through it. It's not going to be easy for everyone. Yeah, I would say it's probably worth a pickup, especially if you're a Mega Man fan, or if Mega Man's new to you. Believe it or not, this is probably a good entry because of the option of that double gear system. Now, they do their best to incorporate the double gear system into the story, but to me, it never really grabbed me or anything. It just felt like, again, as story does in every Mega Man game, filler in the Mega Man game. So, would I go out and buy Mega Man 11 tomorrow if I didn't have a review copy? Yes, I would have actually. It does come with an amiibo for the Switch, and the amiibos, when I scanned 1 or 2 of mine, seemed to just give you a health item, which helped because there was at one point where I was sitting there and I was just before that boss door and I was missing a lot of life. This was very early on in the game, and I realized, oh, I have an amiibo, I'll scan it in, and boom, it drops a health item and refilled my health, and then I went on to defeat the boss with that double gear system because I had no lives and no E-tanks, so, you know, that's a good time to use it. So I would say it's worth picking up if you like Mega Man or you are intrigued by the idea of Mega Man. Just know this isn't as hard as Mega Man 9, as Mega Man 10, as Mega Man and Bass. You'd probably have to go back very far to find a Mega Man game that is as easy as this one when the double gear system is incorporated. Without that double gear system, it is as hard as Mega Man 9 and 10 straight up. So that's Mega Man 11. I liked it. It's a good step, I think, for the franchise, but they still have a ways to go to bring something new to the table that feels integrated into the game. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Make sure if it did, hit the like button. It does help out here. Hit the dislike if not, and get subscribed for all gaming news, technology, and game reviews as well. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.